On the 23rd of December, the phone rang. I picked it up and it was a friend from church. She was the marketing manager of a small downtown mall in Appleton, Wisconsin. She says, "Pete, I need you to be Santa Claus." I says, "Why? You gotta be kidding. I don't know how to be Santa Claus." She says, "You put on the red suit, you hang on the beard, you sit in the red chair. How hard can that be?" Well, we kind of bickered for a little while. I says, "Okay, when do you need me?" She says, 5 o'clock this afternoon. I said, "Oh, thanks for the warning." Okay, so I agreed. She says, "Come about 4:30 to the back door." Now, if you aren't familiar with malls, there are a lot of back doors and catacombs that you don't know are there. So here I find myself in one of those catacombs, trying to find her office. I did. Finally, she took me to the dressing room, and there, hanging on the hanger, is the infamous red suit. I put it on, kind of wiggled myself into it. I hung on this huge, humongous beard. Put on the wig, put on the hat, put on the gloves, went back and found her office, and she says, "Follow me." We walked out through some doors, and finally there sits the red chair. It's at the end of a rather long aisle, hallway, whatever you want to call it. This mall went from block, street to block, and it was laid out like a cross. I was at a dead end. So anyway, at 5 o'clock there I am sitting. And there were some young mothers who brought their little babies, and I'm doing pretty well. I even had one about 3 years old, and we had a little conversation. I thought, hey, this isn't bad. I can do this. About 6 o'clock it began to slow down, and I figured, well, it's dinner time. About 7 o'clock it was really slow, so I decided to get up and walk down to the main part where the other aisle crossed. And about halfway down, here stands this boy. And I would guess he was probably about 9 or 10 years old. He was dressed in jeans and his heavy jacket because it was winter in Wisconsin. And on his head is a ball cap. It's a Schneider Trucking Company ball cap. Well, I'd had some experience with Schneider Trucking, and I knew a little bit about the company. They were headquartered in Green Bay, and so it was not uncommon to see this cap. But this cap was unique. It looked like it had come across Texas, under the truck. So I went over to him and I said, "Hi there, are you ready for Christmas?" He says, "No." I said, "Why not?" "Well," he says, "what I want for Christmas is for my dad to come home. My mom says my dad never comes home anymore." How hard can that be? Well, I don't remember the conversation, and I kind of remember giving him a hug and saying that Santa Claus couldn't do everything, but I'd try. Went back and I sat in the red chair. The relevance of that story. 2 careers started in a company with that conversation. The relevance. I've been Santa Claus now for 22 years. I've had a lot of fun. I've got a lot of stories. And the stories led to the second career. I wanted to be able to tell the stories, so I joined a storytelling guild. Matter of fact, I've been involved with 2 storytelling guilds. I've learned about the craft. I've learned about jacktails. But I also learned you can't tell Santa stories, except for a situation like this. The third thing I learned as time went along was that little kids don't think of Santa Claus as a stranger. In fact, that was impressed on me at the end of a day in the second year up there, when a lady came up and she says, "You know, you're against everything we teach the kids. Don't go to strangers, don't talk to strangers, don't take things from strangers. You put on the red suit, and we're supposed to march them up to you and tell them to forget everything we've taught you." So I thought at that point in time, "Lady, you're right. I don't know what one Santa Claus can do, but I will try." That was the beginning of the Santa Project. And I've gone into a lot of schools. I've talked to thousands of children. Santa Claus is a stranger. You do not know Santa Claus. So one little story about Santa Claus in his first gig finding a boy with a ball cap, which then resulted in a business, a storyteller, and Santa Claus. Thank you for watching this. Can you imagine a storyteller being invited to do a workshop at a writer's conference? Well, there's relevance to that little statement. Santa Project started out teaching kids how to be safe, to be aware of their surroundings, but not afraid of them. I didn't go as Santa Claus. When I talked to kids, I was Santa Pete, or Mr. Pete. I wore overalls and a ball cap. I talked to them about being safe, about watching what was going on around them, and thinking before they got themselves in trouble. That led us into a connection with AMICO, the Association of Missing and Exploited Children's Organizations, where we learned many, many things about the dark side, if you will, of children, of the things that they face, of the problems some of them have at home, some of them leave home because of. But all of that came together at this conference. I was talking to a lady who had a booth right across the aisle from us. Her name was Wendy Brown. I was telling her some of the stories, and she says, "You ought to write a book." I says, "I don't know how to write a book." She says, "You tell me the stories and I'll help you." Okay. So we started collecting stories. Stories from her life and stories from my life. We called the book Equipped to Bless. But all of a sudden, there was a third partner with us. We call it the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit had something different in mind. And even the title of the book changed. We called it Equipped to Bless. But now it is known as Equipped to Bless, finding relevance in the stories of your life. In the process of writing this book, I discovered that there is relevance. The story of the Snyder Company ball cap. There's relevance into 2 careers and the writing of a book and another company. All of those things from one story. If you're interested in finding out the relevance of the stories in your life, we'd love to talk with you. We'd love to share with you some of the things that we're working on. So contact us, equippedtobless.com, and see if we can do something together, like Wendy did with me. Let's have some fun.